global warming, extinction of species, and possible nuclear winter. And of course, I'm counting the days since I personally thought that giant corporations are in control enough that we cannot have Third World War, which simply, destroys the world, and, and then you can't make any profit out of something that doesn't exist. But I mean, the insane things that the insane rulers of the world at the moment are, doing and saying, perhaps my prediction is going to be wrong. I don't know. It's very terrifying, and we have nutters everywhere. First, one has to say that I do hope that the presidential crackdown on corruption in Nigeria is legit. It would be wonderful. My best school chum in film school was from Nigeria, so I have a very soft and warm spot for Nigeria in my heart. And I don't know. I have absolutely no idea. It would be the first time in as far as I know, in Africa, when somebody would actually do something about the giant corruption. And I have no idea whether it's just, a show. But if it's legit, praise. Then one has to point out, or one has to, and I'm trying to be funny here, gives one's solidarity to the Polish opposition that is now disturbing the work of the local parliament there, and that, in a way, that's the first thing I have to say. The Finnish reporting on the Polish situation says that the right-wing nutters, PIS, the party that's the majority party in Poland, that they have the support of 1/3 of the country, and they are actually popular among the people, even though the liberals cannot stand them or cannot live under them. 1/3. Okay, this seems to be the story in those countries that have more than just two parties. It's like 1/3. That's not the people. That's just 1/3 of the people. That means that 2/3 of the people they don't have the proper channel. And that's, the first idea that one has to ask. It is the same thing in France. Because at the moment, one has already heard discussions where they say that it seems that on the second round of the presidential elections, that is going to be Marie Le Pen against François Fillon. I mean, that would be an absolute and total disaster. I mean, it's like vote, choosing between two giant complete evils, lesser of two giant evils. I mean, that simply doesn't work anymore. I mean, what are the French people possibly thinking? Is it the same thing there? I mean, I know in Finland, it's pretty much a situation, that it's very difficult for anybody new to get in or into the political process, into the top so in Finland, in a way, we do not have, it doesn't matter who you vote for, you get the same policies, you get the same politics every time. I know Tariq Ali said that it's been so in Great Britain for a long time that nobody can get in. Nobody new can get in, can get word in politics. So you in a way, you don't really have democracy. Is it that way everywhere? Again, I've been trying to find out something about Asia and Australia, and and it's very interesting. Now, it's Park Sun-hee is the last time a president was impeached in South Korea was 2004. So it's actually, it doesn't, it doesn't happen as rarely as one might hope, and she has pretty much no qualifications to be president, or has had none, and she's already the second conservative president in a row. And the reason she got impeached is because she was way too corrupt. I mean, South Koreans they're totally used to political corruption, but I mean, this was just too much. What the heck is going on there? I mean, what? Why political corruption? And again, is there democracy? And Australia, as far as I, if what I see is correct, they have privately funded elections. And they don't really even have very violent media reaction against it. It's like, it reminds one of Finland. If something is wrong in Finland, it's in one or two shows somebody's saying that, this is how it is, and perhaps it could be better. So it's pretty much that. It's like the system of the Chelsea Manning country, which is, I guess it isn't yet totally corrupt in Australia, but it could be. It could be as corrupt and as the Chelsea Manning country. So it's the system of the Chelsea Manning country with the media attitude of Finland. I can tell you that doesn't sound very good. So I mean, again, do we have real democracy anywhere? I mean, I don't know. I mean, because you can call something democracy, and yet if you don't have any real options, if voting doesn't really change much, and if majority of people actually do not have anyone to vote for, that's not democracy. That's again, that's silliness. So anyway, suicidal candidacy. That's my rant today. And actually before that, I do have to say two things. Firstly, because there's been so much talk about it, or around it, one has to say that Israel is a country established on top of another country with millions of people on totally false pretenses. And whatever the right-wing Israelis say is a complete and utter lie. And as long as Israel is led by these totally insane right-wingers, anything that it says or does is just wrong by default. And I'm so sorry. Again, I had two school chums in the film school from Israel, lovely people, and I don't want anything bad to happen to any Israeli any more than anybody else. I don't want anybody hurt or anything. This is just a fact. Okay? Simple fact. And it would be lovely to get, again, is it the same thing in Israel? I mean, that the left just can't get anything done, and all the sane Israelis just cannot get, what they want in politics. I don't know. And then, finally, one has to say one thing about all this, this right-winger, insanity and lack of true democracy, that perhaps one of the reasons for fake media, again, it was a wonderful British independent lady journalist who I heard this for the first time, who put it into words so wonderfully, how there are some news, I think it was Pigsgate or something that she was referring to, where you want something to be true. It should be true. Okay? Perhaps that's the reason for fake, why fake news have taken so much over, because almost everybody in the whole civilized world understands quietly that there is no genuine way of democracy. And again, I have to say to Chelsea Manning country, where they're in a way where they're saying that people are going to be energized, and all I can say is I hope so. I hope nothing better, but it is possible that people are just going to get more depressed and more, get into more apathy, and just again, if people somehow understand that they're not, whatever they do, they're not gonna, the politicians are not gonna deliver. Perhaps that's what has made fake news so big, because almost everybody, has, they would want something bad to happen to anyone in power. So almost any, good, well-written fake news is something that people just want to be true, because they're so dissatisfied, and rightfully so. I don't know. But anyway, suicidal candidacy. Now, one of the reasons I'm trying to now find out or try to cover all sorts of things that might be, part of the reason why we are going to be destroyed in a very short period of time. And perhaps one of them is suicidal candidacy. Now, firstly, of course, if you have insanely religious people, very, very, very old-fashioned religious people, they, of course, they can't wait for the world to be destroyed, because, that's when they get their reward, according to their delusional view of being. So if you're very strong religious, you probably want the world to be destroyed in a very short period of time. Then you seem to have huge amount of people who simply do not, they're not educated, they're not knowledgeable, they don't know enough about anything. And again, if you start driving a car without having any idea how to drive it, what's going to happen to you? It is highly likely that not very good things are going to, are following. So, in a way, if you're too ignorant, you are a suicidal candidate, aren't you? And then again, there seems to be, since one is rather well-educated and comes across many well-educated people and listens to many well-educated people, they don't understand how much less they would need to use. How much they would have to tone down their standards of living and so on. And it really, people younger than me, it would really seem that they could never do it. They could never give up their way too expensive and too environment destroying way of life. And pretty much if you would actually trash them about every aspect of it, they would say, no, I can't do that, I'll rather die. That's suicidal candidacy. So it's not everybody, but a huge majority of mankind, you might say, are suicidal candidates. And so to actually get them to do something so that the world wouldn't be destroyed in a very short period of time, it seems illogical, actually. And I, again, just had to get it said, it is just possible that one of the reasons why the world is going to be destroyed is that nobody does or even can really give a toss enough